Recording. We did it.
We did it. Congratulations, everybody. That's
We're
our show
live
for
and
this
recording.
week. That's teamwork.
I mean, I feel like I did a lot sitting here.
You did about as much as I expected you to do.
Giving encouragement, facilitating development of high energy, synergistic developments.
Synergistic?
Yeah.
Okay.
Synergistic.
We're here. Finally.
Yeah.
We're here. Mm-hmm. Hello and welcome. Let's start the show. You ready to start the show?
Oh,
Should we start the show?
Okay.
Video title is 851 After Show. Jesus Christ.
That's not right. That's not right.
Yeah. Can I change that?
CJ, how do you fix that, buddy boy? This is why CJ can't leave.
All right, good. You know what? Okay. That's okay.
That's okay.
Welcome to the episode 851 After Show. Yeah. That's the title of this episode 852. All right, let's do this thing.
Okay.
Ready to do it? We're ready to do it.
Boom, 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 boom.
Simpler times. Let's just hook up our SOCOM headsets and hello and welcome to episode 852 of the Player One podcast for Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. I'm your host, CJ, as you can tell by the little bug in the corner here.
Oh, you couldn't change that?
Well, I could. I didn't think about it. I'm your host, Greg Stewart. CJ is in San Francisco. Part of me hopes he never comes back, and part of me wishes he was already back.
Yeah.
So, no, CJ's not here. I'm hosting this week. We'll see how this goes. It's gone great so far. The first 30 minutes of the show were fantastic. We hope.
Oh, good Lord. It has been 30 minutes.
It's been 30 minutes.
Come on.
With me as always.
I'm not abandoning you for GDC.
Yeah. Goddamn C.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Phil Theobald.
It's like Super C. It's like the Contra sequel. Except it's even like more hardcore because it's goddamn C.
Superior C.
Yeah. How's it going?
I think you can tell I've lost all my hair. That's how it's going.
Yeah, it's true.
In the last
okay, you
minutes.
look good.
Oh, thanks.
It looks good.
I got really lucky. My head's actually, there's no like big dents or anything in it. And
right.
No, I got lucky.
I knew a fellow who had a big dent in his head.
Yeah, I used to live with him.
I remember.
Yep.
He had me touch it once.
He got everyone to do that.
It was weird.
That was weird.
Yeah. It was weird.
Yep. When you're knuckle deep in his cranium, you're just like, no. You start questioning all of life's choices.
That man's name was Albert Einstein.
Mm-hmm.
That was Slim Miller. That was
previously
Kenneth Slim Miller.
Previously of Expert Gamer.
Yeah.
Was he on Game? Did he stay for Game Now or did he leave?
No. I don't believe
that wasn't a no question. He didn't stay for Game Now.
No.
Okay.
Slim X.
Slim X.
Yes.
I wonder what he's doing now.
I have no idea. I don't know, sadly.
Slim, if you're out there, reach out.
Mm-hmm.
Phil, how's it going with you?
Fine.
I heard you babysitting.
My wife's at GDC as well. She left today for that. So
did she leave better instructions on how to feed your child than CJ left on how to get the podcast running? Or
well, no, I know how to feed my child.
Oh, okay.
Oh my gosh, come on. You just pour some dry pasta in the bowl and set it out. And when it's empty, you refill it. You squirt a little ketchup on there if you want some flavoring.
That's how you feed my youngest daughter.
Yeah.
So you didn't do anything fun this weekend?
No, just help Dana prepare for GDC. Packing
no new toys, no new Lego sets.
No, not really.
I was counting on you. What's on your shirt?
What's a cat? It's an astronaut.
Okay. I couldn't tell.
It's a cat astronaut.
Castronaut?
A castronaut?
That almost sounds no.
That's a
That
different
doesn't
thing.
sound right. Yeah.
No. This shirt.
All right.
This shirt, I'll have you know, I was wearing this shirt a few years ago when I went into the grocery store, and the woman who was ringing me up because I went through one of the non-self checkout lanes, a regular lane,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't normally do. I usually do the self checkout, but I went through the normal checkout, and I was wearing my little astronaut kitty shirt. And the woman, she was younger. She was probably in her 20s. Mentioned my shirt. Said she thought it was cute. I said, thank you very much. And then she used that as a springboard to go into how, of course, this is a fiction. This is not a thing that could really happen. And I said, well, yeah, they don't put cats in human astronaut helmets to send them into space. And then, of course, no, she was a flat earther.
Oh,
and
God.
she went into the whole.
Oh, it was a fiction because you can't go to space? Is that
because NASA is lying to you, and we don't actually, we've never sent people into space, and the Earth is covered by a dome. The flat Earth has a dome over it. So
with pinpricks to be stars?
Either that or like those little plastic sticky ones that glow in the dark.
Right.
Yeah.
Who puts them up there?
Yeah. It was really weird. Because she was because at first I thought maybe she was a goof. I thought maybe she was doing a bit. But as it went on, it became very evident that no, she was very serious.
Wow.
And then and I had my son with me, who at the time was probably about 5.
And smarter than this lady?
Well, yes. But he was very confused. Why is she saying we don't go into space? And I was like, well, I'll tell you later. It was weird.
You're just like,
yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love that. That's a fiction, but not because it's a cat.
The
catstronaut.
The cat's fine. The cat in the space helmet makes
the cat's
perfect
the
sense.
only real thing.
But I mean, like rockets that go into orbit, that's ridiculous.
I thought you were going to say, like, she was going to say something along the lines of, they don't make space helmets like sized for a cat head or something.
Right.
Like, like you said, I was expecting goofy and weird.
Right.
Not just weird and weird.
I did have a follow-up encounter with her a couple weeks later.
Why? Same.
I mean, I didn't track this down. This is not something I
feel like you would have.
No, I didn't. I was in the grocery store again. Again, this was a few weeks later, and there was I'm in line to check out, and the person who was checking, running the register went on break, and then the conspiracy woman came in, and I was just like, oh no, I just want to get through this. And I got up there, and she was scanning my merchandise, and I had a bag of Doritos. Let's say that seems probable.
It seems on brand.
Yeah. And it had a tie-in with some like Jurassic Park movie or something.
Oh, she told you how they're bringing the dinosaurs back?
Well, no, because it had a dinosaur on there, and she scans it, and she's like, "Oh, dinosaurs! Oh, I was like, yeah, okay, yeah, there's dinosaurs," and that went into a
how humans and dinosaurs coexisted.
No, there were no such thing as dinosaurs.
Oh,
and dinosaur bones were placed in the earth by scientists who were trying to lie to us. And there may have been like some sort of religious angle to it, like
what
make
end?
us to make us not believe in God or something. So I got my chips and I got out of there. So I don't know.
Why do you suppose that she? I'm fascinated with this. Do you suppose
Uh-huh.
that every time she rung somebody through that she like, or is it just you? Like, do you
I
just
do
attract this sort of thing?
I do I do tend to attract these type of people, and friends have pointed this out to me.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I guess I'm approachable. I have kind of a round
You're
kind
not
of
you're not
friendly
intimidating.
face.
You're not intimidating. I
No, that's
agree.
certainly true.
That's true.
That is very true. I'm not intimidating. I have a nice round friendly face,
You
you
look a
know.
little crazy,
Yeah.
which means maybe they think you might be sympathetic to their
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, I one of my old neighbors back when I lived in California, uh I was one of the woman in the apartment next door to me, who I thought was very pleasant. She was a slightly older woman, and she was always very pleasant until the one day when she started. It turns out she was a big conspiracy nut with like chemtrails level,
Yep.
that sort of
Oh
thing.
man, the good old days
I know, right?
when that
When
was
that's
the
all you had to worry
conspiracy.
about.
Yeah.
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 So
Huh.
anyway,
All right. Well,
I get a lot of that.
Phil,
A lot of nuts. Yeah.
are you a Trauma fan?
Like the trauma movies.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what? I know where you're leaning into with this.
I know. I know you know. You have the
I
same
do.
document I do.
It's true. I've only seen a couple of them,
Okay.
and I'm not like super into them.
Did you watch the Toxic Crusaders show?
No, I did not.
Okay, so you're as excited
seen-
about this as I am.
I've seen the original Toxic Crusader movie back in like probably high school or something,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fine. You know, that kind of level like of gore is not really my bag. I mean,
Right.
I get it and I appreciate the craft behind it, but it's not really my bag. And I never watched the cartoon because I think I was not the right age, because that came out kind of in that kind of weird buffer zone where I was too cool to watch cartoons
Mm-hmm.
before I realized that who cares? I'm gonna watch cartoons. But yeah, I never watched the Toxic Crusaders cartoon series.
So, of course, all this is leading up to there was a
Right.
Toxic Crusaders beat 'em up announced
There was.
this week. Yeah.
Yes.
Coming out from Retroware, which the last time I checked in with Retroware, they were a YouTube channel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not but I guess they're video game developers now.
Well,
Oh, I guess they published the Angry Video Game Nerd games.
they made the Angry Video Game Nerd game, which is, I mean, there's two of them.
Yeah.
They're okay.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They're not bad. They're okay.
I'm curious who the developer on this is. It looks good.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
The trailer looks good.
It does.
So I'm really curious if they're, my mind immediately goes to the people that did Turtles.
Right.
Who was that? Was that .emu? No.
The Shredder's Revenge game?
Yeah.
That was it? Looking it up. Should know this.
This is great radio.
Well, it's Tribute Games.
Okay.
.emu is the publisher. It's Tribute
.emu.
Games.
Okay, then .emu is involved somehow.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. I mean, it looks really nice. I'm kind of the same way. It's like I am aware of trauma stuff, and I mean, I was aware of Toxic Crusaders. Never watched it.
Right.
It just never held a lot of interest for me.
Well, it came out at that time where like the Ninja Turtle cartoon was a big deal, and
right.
it was one of the countless kind of quick cash-ins. People trying to ride that Ninja Turtle gravy train.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, it really wasn't for me, but either way, the game looks really good. So that was announced this week, I believe.
Yeah.
I didn't see when it was coming out. Also, I thought something I was more interested in, something else. By the way, I'm reading a list of stuff CJ left for me because CJ does this every week. But also in the news, yes, Atari bought some acquired some, it says some Stern IP.
Yes.
The story here, the main points of the story here are Berserk and Frenzy.
Yes.
Which were great games. Berserk was fantastic. I played so much Berserk when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But yeah, apparently they've acquired 12 of Stern Electronics arcade games. Because that's kind of Atari's thing right now, obviously, is that they're looking into monetizing retro games. I'll tell you, when I read this, the first thing I thought of was, are we going to get a patch for Atari 50?
Oh yeah.
To include some of these, because I mean, the Berserk was on different consoles as well, right? So
It was.
yeah, it would be fantastic to see that patched with some Stern Electronics arcade games and their ports. But yeah, it's pretty
Now,
cool.
you know what's interesting?
What's interesting
about this? So Berserk, which was a very fun old arcade game, it was ported to the Atari 2600, which was, of course, the version I played the most as a kid.
Same.
Yeah. Now, were you aware, speaking of Atari 50, were you aware that Mike Micah, he of Digital Eclipse, the developers of Atari 50, do you know that he created a ROM hack version of the Atari 2600 version of Berserk that adds in the voices from the arcade game?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, if you look up
now.
Yeah, if you look up Berserk voice enhanced, I believe is the title of the 2600 game that he did. Like, yeah, he went in and hacked the game to put in, because the arcade game has some very famous, stop the intruder, stop the humanoid, that kind of thing.
I just thought the robots looked cool in the arcade game.
They absolutely did.
The spinning heads, where they weren't.
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah.
Kind of like the Cylons.
They look like Cylons. That's exactly what it was. And I'm old enough to remember watching, oh my God, what the hell was the name of the show? Battlestar Galactica. Thank you. The original Battlestar Galactica.
Yes.
I remember I had some of the toys from that. The ship.
Oh, okay.
The main ships was awesome. It was such a cool ship. Anyway, yeah, but so I'm curious to see what they do with this. I mean, I wouldn't put it outside the realm of possibility that we might get Berserk and some other Stern games added to Atari 50 in a patch. Yeah. That seems like something Atari and Digital Eclipse would do.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know that for sure yet. It's just
so
far it's just the acquisition that we know about.
Yep.
That's pretty neat. Also, pretty exciting week for Nintendo Switch Online. We finally got Side Pocket added to the Super Nintendo library. Thank God.
About time.
One of those games everyone's been dying for.
Yeah, Side Pocket, man.
Whew.
That's like, that was kind of the reason I got my
Switch
Super Nintendo back in the day, was for Side Pocket. Yeah. And then I was like, oh wow, there's like a Zelda game on this system as well, and like, oh, there's a decent Street Fighter.
You weren't a Minnesota Fats guy?
Oh, are you kidding? Come on. No, Side Pocket all the way. To this day. I'll be taking a shower and just kind of humming to myself, and I'm like, oh, what is this catchy? Oh, it's the Side Pocket theme. The classic Side Pocket theme. Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there were a new batch of retro games added to Switch Online. NES.
Mm-hmm.
We got Xevious.
Okay.
Which is a good game.
Of course.
Super Nintendo, we got Side Pocket.
And
Game Boy, we got Game Boy, we got Kirby's Dream Land 2. That's great.
Absolutely.
And Burger Time Deluxe, which I have no idea if Burger Time Deluxe was good. Burger Time is a good game.
Yeah, it is actually.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, the Game Boy version of Burger Time is actually pretty darn good.
Nintendo continues to drip feed us games on Switch Online, and hey, like 2 out of 4, not bad.
And I will say, if you if you have a Japanese Switch account set up, so you can download the Nintendo Switch Online, the Japanese versions, I highly recommend you update the Game Boy, the Japanese Game Boy one, because the Burger Time, the Japanese Burger Time box art is incredibly great.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. You must not have seen. I posted the other day on the Twitters. I posted a comparison. I took a screen grab from both versions of the Nintendo Switch Online screens, where you can see the US box art and the Japanese box art. And I highly recommend you go take a look at that, because the difference is wonderful. And it's just a nice example of the difference between American box art sensibilities and Japanese box art sensibilities. I just posted a link for you, Greg.
I see that. I'm going to go look at it right now because
You should look at it right now. I want your live reaction.
I'll tell you what I get out of this.
Yeah,
is that the Japanese box art for Burger Time Deluxe, much more interesting.
of course it is.
Yeah,
because the US version,
it's just sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the US version, it's a nicely drawn kind of cartoon.
The US version looks like it could be on the side of an arcade cabinet.
Yeah, just
it looks it looks good.
Very literal depiction of the game.
Yes,
you got Peter Pepper maneuvering through some platforms, shoving a burger bun down onto a burger while angry foodstuffs home in on him, ready for the kill. And the Japanese one, it's just a plain kind of pinkish background, kind of pinkish red background, with a young woman in a waitress.
She looks very much like a 50s diner waitress.
Yeah.
Like curly blonde hair and
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, she looks like a little porcelain doll almost.
Holding a ridiculously fake looking hamburger.
Just a big old grin with the bleachest, whitest teeth you've ever seen, ready to eat this big fake looking hamburger.
Ready to chat on some plastic. I did get a smile out of Xevious being added, just because I watch Jeremy Parrish's YouTube channel, and because he does great stuff. Covering Famicom, NES, Game Boy, Virtual Boy stuff was great.
Yeah,
and also he's on sort of an SG-1000 / Mark III Master System kick as well.
Yep.
But he has made a case for so long about how influential Xevious is.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
To the point that it's a meme on his channel, because he manages to draw a line back to Xevious on almost everything he covers. And he did mention this on Twitter when this came out, and I responded to him too, because anytime, like, I'm working on a script for a Ridge Racer video for later this year, and of course, so Xevious is, it's a Namco property, and you get to play. You see the word Xevious a lot in that series, and every time I type it, like literally the meme flashes up in my head. He's got like a zero days since this channel mentioned Xevious that he flashes up on screen. Anyway, it was funny. So moving on down CJ's list. Speaking of Ridge Racer, hey, that was pretty good.
Not bad.
I didn't mean to do that, but Ridge Racer Type 4. Yeah, I know. Ridge Racer Type 4 is coming to the PlayStation Classics game catalog.
Okay.
That's pretty neat. Yeah, March's additions to the Classics catalog are Ridge Racer Type 4, which a lot of people, if not the best one in the series, a lot of people consider that like the apex of the series. But definitely the best PS1 version of Ridge Racer. So that's coming to PS1, the Classics catalog, as well as Siphon Filter Dark Mirror and Ape Academy 2, both PSP games.
Wait, what was the last one?
Ape Academy 2.
Ape Academy 2?
Is that like the PSP version of Ape Escape?
I think it might be.
I'm pretty sure it is.
It is.
I'm really happy to see them doing PSP games on that.
It's the
that classic
it's the PSP Yeah, it's
No.
the second PSP ape escape-ish game.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Okay.
On top of that, of course, there's some other stuff coming to PlayStation Plus Essential tier. I don't know what that means. I think that's
No.
the one you pay for. Uncharted Legacy of Thieves, Ghostwire Tokyo, Rainbow Six Extraction, Life is Strange True Colors, Immortals, Phoenix Rising, and Street Fighter 5. I'm really interested to see if Legacy of Thieves collection works for me.
Yeah.
I have a physical copy. No, it's not. Yeah, I had a physical copy of that, and I couldn't play it for more than a few minutes, and it would crash on my PS4. It would
Oh.
crash every
Okay.
time. So then I ended up, when I got the PS5, and I think it was, I want to say it was free before. Anyway, I somehow got my hands on a digital copy of it, and I downloaded it, crashed in the exact same spot every
Oh,
time.
really?
Yeah, it was weird.
Unusual.
Yeah. But anyway, Ridge Racer 4, Type 4, great game. Definitely should check that out. And then finally on here, I don't know why. I guess this is on here because he's a Destiny 2 actor. But yeah, Lance Reddick passed away this week.
Yeah.
At 60 years old, which is frightening.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah. And he, of course, that's a video game related from the fact that he plays Commander Zavala in the Destiny franchise, which neither of us plays.
No.
But he has played a central role in that series for quite a while. Destiny 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw clips of the players in the game kind of gathering around his character and having little kind of impromptu memorial services and things like that,
that's cool.
Which was pretty nice. Yeah, that was kind of sweet to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sucks because he's a very good actor.
Well, yeah, and 60 years old. That's pretty
that's
young. I remember not thinking that was very young 20 years ago.
Know, right?
But
yeah.
It's getting closer and closer. Anyway, that's all the news that's fit to tell.
All right.
For us. So let's move into what you've been playing.
Okay.
From the outline here, it says you've got nothing, but CJ has a bunch of games.
Well, that's because I wrote the thing in the wrong thing. Watch this. Look at this. Boom. Look at that.
All right. Oh, look, Phil's got stuff on his list.
There we go.
CJ is nothing playing? Like a jerk.
Nothing like a jerk.
Phil, what have you been playing?
Oh, golly. Well, you know what? I'm gonna start with this one just because I haven't gotten too far into it yet. But I picked up the new Bayonetta game, which came out this past week. Bayonetta Babies.
Bayonetta Babies.
We make our dreams come true.
I love Muppet Babies.
This is a great show. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza, and the Lost Demon has been released on Switch, and I absolutely picked it up because, of course, I do enjoy the Bayonetta games. And this, of course, is not your standard Bayonetta game. It is not a kind of stylish character action game. This is a prequel where you control Bayonetta when she was a child, when she went by the name Cereza. And it, from what I've seen so far, I mean, I'm very early part of this game. I have not had a chance to sit down and really get into it yet, but boy, it seems more like just kind of like a story-driven indie game than kind of the fast-paced, sexy action that I'm used to from the series. But it seems pretty neat. I'm excited to get into it more, get into the story.
So, question.
Okay.
I don't have a ton of experience with the Bayonetta series.
I know, because you and CJ both dislike Platinum Games, which is weird.
I do,
whatever.
Mostly. I don't dislike their games. I just don't. I'm not. They don't necessarily work for me.
I'm not. You know,
they're pretty. The Bayonetta games have been pretty sexual. She's pretty sexual. She's a pretty sexualized character.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
I assume they've toned that down here.
Not even a little. In fact, it may be maybe even more.
No, I'm serious though.
No, not at all. No.
Okay.
No, it's very cute, very sweet and innocent kind of kind of a backstory. Yeah, it is, like I said, it's very much leaning into this is her as a kid, and she's kind of making her way through, this little adventure that she has to go on as a kid. So yes, it is not at all, she's not, her hair's not turning into demons while she becomes naked or anything, and
Right.
she's not like, spinning
Okay.
around and
Well, that's good.
spread eagling in front of the camera. None of that stuff. She's a kid, for crying out loud.
I've seen anime.
Now this is Bayonetta Origins. She picks that up later in life.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
After she watches too much anime.
Probably.
Okay.
But yeah, no, but it seems really cute so far, actually. And it's boy, oh boy, is it pretty. It's got this beautiful kind of storybook art style. And actually, at least so far in the game, there's actually kind of like storybook narration as well. As you're kind of walking through the levels, there's a narrator reading the story to you and everything like that. So yeah, I'm excited to sort of sit down and get further into it. So certainly a change of pace from the standard Bayonetta games, but yeah, I am enjoying it.
That's cool though. It's cool that they've actually created something that's not just the exact same game,
right?
Just featuring a younger character, like earlier in the timeline.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then the other thing I've really played this week is I was playing more Dead Cells, and as I threatened to do last week, I did a little streaming. I did a little Twitch.
The beginning of your stream was very similar to the beginning of this stream tonight.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
We're rife with technical difficulty.
Not knowing. Well, not only were there technical difficulties, but you had me just being stupid and not knowing how Twitch works, because I've never really messed with it before. So
right,
just trying to navigate menus and understand how things work.
I thought it was interesting that when our bot announced your stream, it sent a notification to absolutely everybody on our Discord server.
Good.
I've only been streaming for 10 years, CJ.
Yeah.
And our bot's never done that for me.
Who does our bot notify for you?
No one.
Oh, nobody.
Nobody.
Well.
Yeah.
I guess we know who the popular one here on this show is. Who's the glue holding this podcast together?
CJ.
That's right. Everybody, come watch Phil not know how to talk into a microphone. But yeah, that was my big problem, was that I'm trying to, because I had this headset, and I have this little microphone that plugs into it, and I had this plugged into my controller, my PS5 controller, and I was hoping to just be able to use that microphone, but for some reason my PS5 was not recognizing it.
Yeah, it's weird because you have the same headset that I use when I'm on my PS5, and it works fine.
Yeah, I see. There must be some menu option I gotta figure out, but
right.
No, but I sat around for like an hour or so just playing, and a dozen or so people popped in and out and chatted, and I chatted back. It was very nice. Finn sat down next to me and watched me play. He gave me some advice. I was like when I would get to different sub weapons in the game, I would ask Finn for his advice. Which should I keep my current one? Should I take the new one? And he'd sit there and kind of read all the attributes of the weapons and give me some advice. It was kind of it was a fun little time. CJ was there, and actually he says in our chat right there that he's been playing and enjoying Dead Cells thanks to me.
It's probably the bot.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
That makes sense. But yeah, no, CJ watched me play. He learned how someone who is skilled at that game can make progress, and it inspired him to do it himself. I'm an inspiration.
Jesus.
I'm the meaning in CJ's life. I'm his inspiration. He's not here to tell me that I'm not.
He's still in the chat.
Oh, well, yeah, but he's not. I don't have to read his chats.
Fair.
Nobody has to know. Oh, he does say that he went up against death in the Castlevania DLC while he was on the plane.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. The Castlevania DLC.
Yeah, so well, here's the thing. In the I'm streaming it on my PS5, and I bought Dead Cells. Well, it's the PS4 version. They don't have a dedicated PS5 version, but it's the PS4 version. And I just bought the Castlevania DLC on there. Normally, I play Dead Cells on my Switch, so I have a lot of hours logged into my Switch version of Dead Cells, and some into like my Steam version. But I just bought the PS4 version for the sole intention of streaming it at some point. So I hadn't played that version at all. So when I started streaming it, I started a fresh game. No weapons unlocked, no powers unlocked, things like that. So from what I understand is that in order to begin accessing the Castlevania content, you have to make a little progress in the base game first. And I believe you have to do like at least 3 runs before you can start going into the Castlevania chunk of the game. So, and I think I'm up to 2 on the PlayStation version. So I have to finish another run through, and then I can start streaming Castlevania stuff. But I should do that quickly, because it's the Castlevania stuff. That's what people want to see. That's what Phil wants to play, man. But yeah. So what about Castlevania? Are you wanting to talk about?
I just wanted to see if you'd actually played it and what you think of it so far.
Oh yeah. Well, I've been playing it on the Switch, and I talking about CJ facing death. I did the same. I defeated death, and then as you progress, you eventually get to like Dracula's clock tower later in the game. So I have not been able to get through that area yet, but it's the Castlevania stuff is outstanding. It's got great remixes of the classic Castlevania tunes. You got a ton of classic Castlevania enemies. It's a really fun game, and I think I mentioned last week where it really does feel like kind of a test run to see if Motion Twin, the developers of Dead Cells, could handle doing like a full Castlevania game. I hope that's the case. I would love to see them do a full on kind of old school Castlevania game, like less of the Metroid style giant castle and more of a kind of linear.
Yeah, just a platformer.
Yeah, like like the original or Castlevania 3 or the Super Castlevania 4 Rondo of Blood, that kind of thing. I would love to see them try and do something like that. But yeah, that's really what I've been playing. Oh, I see our chat.
Namava, where can we find your Twitch streams?
Where can we find your Twitch streams?
Username?
What's my Twitch hacker alias? Spoiler alert, it's Whimsical Phil.
Inspiring.
Well, yeah, I'm Whimsical Phil on the Twitch, just as I am on the Twitter.
As long as you're on our Discord server, you'll get notified whenever he goes live.
Oh, absolutely. I made sure of that.
Yeah.
I slipped CJ a 20 to make sure that everybody found out when I was streaming. Don't worry. But yeah, that's what I've been playing. Oh, you know what I also have been doing? I think I talked about this a couple weeks ago.
I see your 3DS. Yes,
this is my 3DS here.
That's this week, isn't it? Isn't it shut down this week?
It's the 27th. which
yeah, end of
is
next Monday.
next Monday. Oh my gosh. If there is anything you want on the 3DS or the Wii U eShop, this is it.
I should jump into the Wii U eShop.
Get in there. Get what you want to get while the getting is good. I know I certainly did. I think I have everything I want on the system. I even went in last night. I was going through looking for like DLC for games.
Yep.
And I what did I pick up? Oh, I picked up Gotta Protectors. That game Gotta Protectors is a fun game. There is a DLC alternate soundtrack that is Yuzo Koshiro.
Ooh.
Yeah. And it was a little pricier than I was wanting to, I think it was like $7 or $8, but I was like, well, if I don't get it now, it ain't getting got. So I done got it.
In the chat there, the completionist made a video. He bought all the digital games on 3DS and Wii U, and cost was over $20,000.
I watched that video yesterday.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah, it's like a 20-minute video, but it's kind of amusing the hoops that they had to jump through, and like the trouble they had just first of all getting enough gift cards to actually collect over $20,000 worth of eShop credit.
Now just hope those hard drives never die.
Yeah. Well, you want me to spoil the end of the video?
Sure.
They all did. All the hard drives
Everyone died?
All effort was all for naught. That's not actually true. What is true is this. What is true is this. Is all the hard drives that they have all that stuff saved on, they donated it to the
video game history.
Frank Cifaldi's the thing. So it's preserved
somehow. However they preserve it.
Somehow, somewhere. Yeah, I don't know what they're doing there, but I'm sure they're doing something. So but yeah, it's an amusing video. You should
cool. We'll have to put a link on that.
Yeah.
So that's all you've been playing?
That's it, baby.
All righty. For me, this past week, because I do Donor Demand streams on Thursday nights. Yeah. You probably didn't know that because you didn't get a notification if you're on our Discord server.
No, I'm too busy building my brand.
Right.
And my channel.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, Road Rash was requested.
Oh.
So I was playing some Road Rash on the 3DO.
Okay.
This week. Mostly it was just a chance to listen to Soundgarden more than anything else.
The 3DO version of Road Rash is quite good.
Yes, it is.
It's one of those good 3DO games.
It holds up pretty well.
Yeah.
Although after years of using an analog controller for driving games, it feels weird to go back to the sort of the tap tap tap.
Oh yeah.
Style of control. But I mean, that game just it has a really nice flow to it, even when you're playing like that, and it can lead to some really crazy moments. I think somebody actually clipped one of mine where it looked like I ended up in the water, but somehow I didn't crash. I didn't even know you could do that, and was still survived. But yeah, I mean that game is great. Like somebody mentioned in the chat, they're the most 90s video game ever. It absolutely is. It's just very, we get these really weird, stretchy photos of all the main characters, and
that's the one with those hideous caricatures, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they look like they're photos that were stretched and drawn over.
Okay.
But either way.
Yeah.
But yeah, and a great soundtrack. One of the very earliest examples of licensed music, which we all came to sort of know. Well, I mean, it's standard now, but really took off in the 90s, where you had things like Tony Hawk and its ilk where it was just all licensed music. The Road Rash on the 3DO was kind of the forerunner of that. To the point that I actually found a I knew this factoid, so I just went to look it up, but I found this came from somebody who I think was working at A&M Records or was a representative for A&M Records. And he posted this after Chris Cornell died. Of course, Chris Cornell, lead singer Soundgarden. And he was like, as sort of a cool story about Chris Cornell. And so, of course, if you play Road Rash on the 3DO, it also on the Saturn and PlayStation versions, and also the Sega CD version, there's a great intro video, and it's running to Rusty Cage. This Rusty Cage is what's playing in the background, which is a Soundgarden song. And it's very iconic for those of us who experienced it. Like I know that intro stuck with me from the second I saw it for the first time. And that wasn't normal to hear, sort of contemporary artists in a video game. And so there's a great story about that where I think it was the producer of this game decided they wanted Soundgarden to appear in the, not appear, but, their music to be in the game. But there wasn't they reached out to A&M Records, and this guy said, like, I didn't return their call because that just wasn't a thing we did, right? So there was no process for it. And he never took it to the band at all. And then the producer from EA reached out directly to the band's agent. And this guy said, all of a sudden, I'm getting a call from the band say, we want to be in Road Rash. And he's like, I was a little bit pissed that they did an end run and went directly to the band instead of talking to the record label. But it turns out that the band were Road Rash fans. The Genesis series. They played the Genesis series on their bus all the time. So when this guy reached out, they were like, yes, oh my God, we want to be part of Road Rash. So like this person from A&M was saying, like, again, there was no process for this. So to like Soundgarden's credit, they went back to Soundgarden and said, would you mind if we use you as leverage to get some of the other bands on the label into the game? Okay. And they said yes. So that's why and I don't know any of these bands, but you get in there's bands like Swerve Driver, and Paw are the two that I remember all the time. Okay. But there's a whole group of A&M like grunge type bands in the game. And so it's just got a fantastic soundtrack. It's a very 90s soundtrack, especially for the mid 90s. It's actually, I think, a little bit ahead of its time. But I guess they got a very sweet deal on royalties, and the bands got to keep most of that. He was saying like every band that was involved in that game made a ton of money off of that game. To the point that he's heard a rumor that was the last time EA ever signed a contract like that for music licensing, because they didn't, all the money went to the bands. You can't have that. You can't have all this money going to the artists. Yeah, no, that's too much. Yeah, that's not EA style. So, but anyway, great game. I just wanted to mention it because I'd been playing it this week. The main game that I've been playing lately, I haven't quite finished yet, but I'm very close to the end, is Metroid Prime Remastered. Oh, okay. On the Switch. And I gotta say, we've been really spoiled. I count this as one of my favorite games ever. I loved Metroid Prime when it came out. Right. And so I'm super excited to play it. This version is great. It looks fantastic. I love that they've got modern controls in there, like, the free look style control with twin stick and everything. And I'm a little bit spoiled because, of course, just having played through Dead Space was reworked, so it was much closer to Dead Space 2. Really held up. Couldn't put that game down. Just, as soon as I finished it, I actually started New Game Plus, and I had to force myself to stop because I had Metroid waiting, and I wanted to play through that, especially before Zelda comes out and everything. Yeah. And then also having played through Shining in the Darkness, again, another game that I count as one of my favorites, but I hadn't played since it came out 30 years ago. So there's always sort of that, like, I hope this is as good as I remember it being. Yeah. And again, happy to report, as I mentioned on this show a couple weeks ago, Shining in the Darkness really holds up well. Really well balanced. Metroid Prime, not so much. Metroid Prime does not hold up, in my opinion. It did for the first probably 8 to 10 hours that I
No.
played. I'm at about 15 hours now. But boy, once I get into there's an artifact hunt in the second half of the game, where you have to find 12 different Chozo artifacts, and I finally just reached for a walkthrough. I was just
really?
like, I just want to beeline it to the end now because I'm really done with this. So I'm at the very end now. Although I'm I'm at the point where, and I forgot these Metroids even existed. There are these Metroids that appear at the end of the game where when you shoot them, you can't freeze them. When you shoot them, they split into 2 different Metroids.
Oh.
And they're multicolored. And depending on what color they are, that's the kind of beam weapon you're supposed to use to fight them. So like they'll split into like a purple and a yellow. So you need like your standard, I forget what it's called, like your phaser, the standard you start with for the yellow one, and the purple one you need the wave beam.
Okay.
But I think one of the things that's made it worse, and I watched a YouTube video on this, and the guy mentioned this because he's gone through. There's this guy that I watch on YouTube, Tarvold, I think is the name he goes by, and he's gone through like every Metroid game recently.
Oh,
played through all of them. So Metroid Prime is very fresh in his memory. Excuse me. And so he's played through this, and he pointed out that when you're using twin stick controls, the default for switching weapons is to hold the top button on the face buttons and use the D-pad to switch weapons. But having to do that means that you're taking both of your thumbs off of the control sticks. So when you get into situations, because there's also beam specific pirates that you fight too. So you get into a room where you have 2 or 3 different types of pirates that you're fighting. You have to be constantly switching your weapons, and you have to let go of the control sticks every time you do it. And it can get a little bit frustrating. It makes those battles harder than they need to be. And but anyway, that's exacerbated the problem because I'm in a room right now, which I think is literally like one of the last 3 rooms in the game, where it's like a phase-on floor that even with your best suit will hurt you if you fall into it. And there's some of these Metroids floating around, and I find them difficult to fight. And so I've been fighting them, and you also have to climb this room. It's like a platforming challenge. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to get rid of the Metroids first, and then I'm going to do the platforming. Well, they respawn. When you kill them, they respawn.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm just like, oh my God. I actually turned the game off in frustration the other night. I was like, I'm not down with this at all. So, but I'm so close, I don't want to give up. So I'm hoping that this time next week I will have finished Metroid Prime Remastered. But yeah, I just, my interest really fell off a cliff about, I would say, a third of the way into that artifact hunt. It's just like, I'm not interested in this anymore. But yeah, one thing that I meant to look up, and I don't know that and I bet you if I say this, somebody in the chat will tell me. Did Jesper Kidd do some of the music in that game? Does anyone remember Jesper Kidd?
Who was that?
He did the Hitman. He did a lot of the soundtracks for the Hitman games.
Oh, I do not know.
He's a Danish composer.
Oh, Danishes are delicious. But I don't.
I'll tell you what.
What's that?
He did the soundtrack for Robotech Invasion, which was the first game I worked on.
Oh, okay.
And man, does a lot of the music in this game remind me of his music.
Oh, really?
In Robotech Invasion. So I'm just curious if he worked on Metroid Prime.
Well, according to the Wikipedia,
he did one of them. He did Prime 3.
According to Wikipedia, the composers were Kenji Yamamoto and Koichi Kuma. So maybe not?
Huh. Well, I'll tell you what. It sounds like his work, or vice versa. Maybe his work sounds.
I mean,
like
it might. Maybe. Maybe he contributed. I don't know.
Yeah,
I can't say.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he did, but maybe he did. Who knows? The sound. I think the audio for that game is kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Because wasn't it the one that Tommy Tallarico likes to say he worked on, but he didn't actually do anything on? Anyway,
Worked hand in hand
hand
for
in
years.
Hand. Yep.
With Shigeru Miyamoto.
Yep.
He begged Tommy, please come and make some sound effects and we'll base a whole game around it. Oh yeah, I watched that H-Bomber guy video.
You know what? That video I didn't like so much, but DJ Slopes did a great video on that stuff.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Because he did more of a timeline.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Wasn't his video like 4 hours long?
It was, but you know what? It was fascinating.
Okay.
It was the best explanation of that whole foolishness that I did.
No.
He didn't spend all his time trying to dunk on Tommy for as much as Tommy requires that.
Right.
He didn't spend it doing that. He spent it more just sort of laying out the whole situation.
Now, wasn't
for the Intellivision?
Let me tell you, boy, the last thing I want to do is go down some rabbit hole of YouTuber controversies. But wasn't he on the Amico hype train at one point?
Yes, he was, and that's one of the reasons he did the video.
Okay.
He owns that completely.
Okay.
That was the other thing that I really liked about it, actually, is that he was just like, he said, "Yep, I was part of the foolishness." And
I got suckered into it.
Yep.
Okay.
It didn't feel like 4 hours exactly in the chat.
Okay. Well, good.
Recommend. Listen.
Yeah.
That's all I've been playing. That's all you've been playing.
You
know what that means it's time for?
I don't.
It's time for tweets and tunes.
Oh. A tweedly-deedly-dee. A tweedly-deedly-dee.
Tweet. Tweet a tweet.
Toot.
Toot.
I don't have any tweets.
It's like a fart. It's like a big old fart. Yeah. How do you like that? Little devil fart?
Here's one that just came in. I'm gonna ask right away.
Here's one that just came out.
Hacker alias Bobby Bialo?
What's this?
Bionic? Bobby Bionic. He asks. He says it's most likely more of a commitment when CJ is not hosting, and he does a tremendous job. However, what is your favorite part of his absences?
The confusion, the uncertainty that looms over everything we do.
I want to point out that tonight's technical difficulties were CJ's fault. He set me up.
I have no comment.
You've seen the screenshots. You know. I miss CJ when he's gone. I miss him when he's gone.
I know.
And
he's CJ's still in the chat. CJ, you are in San Francisco.
Why are you not on the show?
You are in San Francisco right now. You could be out hanging out with people, having some nice dinners. Oh, he's going now. Leaving. Goodbye. Yeah.
Probably going have dinner with Ethan. Hacker alias Carlito's Way 1999 asks, this is for you.
That's not
Phil.
When that movie came out. Or is
this
it?
For you, Phil. GoBot Cykill versus Transformers RC. Which has the better motorcycle transformation?
Oh. Well, I mean, now, of course, RC in her G1 days turned into a Cybertronian car.
Yeah, I was just a little bit surprised at this.
Yes, she becomes a motorcycle in the Transformers Prime animated series, and in the live action movies as well.
Oh, she's in live action movies?
She was in, oh gosh, I mean, those stupid movies all are kind of a blur. I think the second one
was Blur in those movies.
Blur was not in those movies, ironically enough. But I believe it was the second one, which is, I'd say, probably the second worst of the bunch.
Was that the one with the creature on the? Was it the pyramid?
That was that.
With the balls.
That's no creature, Greg.
Oh, the giant robot. Sorry.
That's Devastator.
Right.
That is.
Yeah.
that is-
You know what? That was the
Yeah.
last I saw of that series. I mean, as offensively bad as that was, the fact that
Right.
they did it to Devastator, which was like my favorite of the, what are they? Gestalts? How do you say that word?
Gestalts, combiners.
Combiners. My favorite by far.
Yeah.
Best one. And
Yep.
that's what he turned into.
That was it. Yeah. No,
Big
it was
robot testicles.
and that wasn't the worst. I mean, it was close to the worst one, but it wasn't the worst one.
Ugh.
Did you see? You know what? Did you see Bumblebee?
No, but I've heard it's fun.
I'm going to tell you to watch Bumblebee.
Yeah.
Absolutely watch Bumblebee. Bumblebee is a cute, good movie.
Yeah.
That is removed enough from the Michael Bay nonsense that you can enjoy it. But to the question, the Cykill or RC best motorcycle transformation. Look, I love me a GoBot.
You know what? Me
Yeah,
too.
I
I
do.
would never ever say GoBots were superior to Transformers. Were much better toys.
Of
They're much more
course.
interesting characters. It was a better show.
Yeah.
But man, I just love the stupid simplicity of a GoBot.
Absolutely.
I had so many GoBots.
Well, because GoBots were dirt cheap.
They were
You
dirt
could buy
cheap.
one with pocket money.
When your allowance was $5 a week,
Yeah.
you could buy GoBots.
Yeah. Of course.
Couldn't afford Transformers, but you could buy
No.
GoBots.
And I say that because yes, I do love me a GoBot. And I'll tell you what, if you look in, I mean, you can't look in because it's far away, but in one of my cabinets back there, I do have a very nice modern Cykill figure. It's one of the import machine robo, bike
I was looking
robo.
at those the other day.
Yeah. I have a really nice one of the machine robo or bike robo, which is the toy that became Cykill. But yeah, going from like the old G1 GoBot to Cykill versus like, let's say, microphone. Versus like the Transformers Prime RC toy I mean, it's better. The RC is better. Of
Right.
course it is.
I mean, Cykill's transformation is literally just getting on all fours and holding onto a couple of wheels.
Exactly.
But again, that's what made GoBots great.
Yeah. Also true.
How do you transform this car? The same as every other car. Pull the arms
Yep.
out, pull the legs down, flip the head over.
There it is.
Transformed.
Yep. Cykill, what do? You put his arms up, you bend his knees. Boom.
Put the wheels on him and he's done.
Yep. Not to say that Cykill is not iconic. Because he is, and I love him. But I mean, come on.
Mr. Coffee in the chat, though, I think says, "What about the cycles from Robotech? Those are Cyclone cycles, and those are better than both."
Oh, okay.
Just saying. Well, they transformed into armor around the rider. So
right. What else do we got? What else do we got?
Hacker alias Grant Montgomery. That doesn't sound like a hacker alias.
No.
Did you watch before we asked, did you watch the last episode of Last of Us?
I did. I watched all of The Last of Us. Did you?
Okay. I did.
Okay.
So we can ask this. So spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't watched the season finale of Last of Us.
Spoilers for all of the Last of Us TV series.
Right. Which is the same as for the Last of Us video game for the most part.
Most
before the Last of Us aired, many people were wondering why they'd watch a TV show that just faithfully adapts a video game, since they already knew the story bits and outcome. Now that its first season has ended, did you enjoy the show, even knowing how it would go?
I did enjoy the show quite a bit.
Same.
Yes. I will admit to a couple times in the show, because it is so faithful to the game, that there were a few points where I was just like, oh, get to this part. When are they going to get to this part? Especially if it was like some, if I knew there was some big dramatic moment coming up,
Right.
I was like kind of, on the edge of my seat, figuratively speaking, just kind of like, oh, when are they getting to that? Just quit jerking me around. Just get to this big part. But still, I liked seeing the way they interpreted it. I mean, some of the scenes were very much
Shot
just
for shot almost.
like you're watching the cutscenes.
Yeah.
But I also enjoyed all the little deviations they took.
Yeah.
Bill's, having a whole backstory, I thought was great. I liked the first episode where we spent the day with Joel's kid before things start going down. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it, even knowing the story and all of that.
For the most part, I feel the same way. I was, even knowing the story, it seemed fairly obvious right from the jump that they were going to flesh out backstories.
Yeah.
For a lot of the characters that you didn't get. I think for good reason in the video game, because it would have been boring to do in the video game. So yeah, Joel's daughter is a great example. Bill's backstory, obviously. I also really liked how they took something like Ellie's relationship with David and turned it around completely, because I think they had to, because I feel like if you were going to fit that into a 45-minute episode, you couldn't go through the whole journey of trusting him, them fighting together and trusting him, and then sort of having that sinister turn. You kind of just had to make him, kind of had to be clear that he's a horrific piece of shit, like right from the start.
Right.
And just make him that person. And I think it worked really well. But I will say, after the whole series being done, I think it should have been about 2 more episodes long.
Yeah.
The finale, for me, was the most disappointing episode of the series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was interesting because I was watching it with my oldest daughter. She doesn't know anything about the game. She's never played it. And her first reaction, even right off the start of that final episode, was how much Joel had changed. They'd switched roles, which was on purpose, and it did make sense from the story standpoint, but it just felt like they went from the last scene with David to the last scene of the game. It felt really crunched into this tiny little episode. The hospital, they were barely to the hospital when all of a sudden we got the montage of Joel just killing everybody.
Right.
And it's like, it's like we're rushing to the scene we all wanted to see, which was the two of them hiking at the end of the game.
Right.
Joel telling, Joel sticking to his story, which was done fantastically. Don't get me wrong. And like everything from the moment he got into the surgery room, right?
Yeah.
The operating room, that point to the end was great. But the journey to get there could have been 2 episodes easily.
Yeah.
And that's not me being like, I'm not one of those people that thinks that they should have done every single story beat exactly the same as the games. That would have been crazy.
Right.
But I feel like they really were on a sprint to get to that ending in like 40 minutes.
Right.
And it didn't do the show any favors. But other than that, I was pleased. I do also agree that we didn't get to see enough of the infected in the second half of the series.
Yeah, that was
the other thing.
Yeah. Yeah. They just you'd almost kind of forget that this show had infected monsters in it, just for the lack of it for the majority of the episodes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, I think it's because I think, if I remember correctly, in the game, they kind of take a back seat in the story scenes.
Oh yeah.
Pretty quickly too. And you only really see them in, like, when they're going through the university and when they're
Right.
I don't know if they were in the hospital, when they're going through Salt Lake City, you know, like you see them in the action scenes, but where they excised a lot of the action scenes out of the show,
Right.
they lost that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is too
I
bad.
think, you know, it's kind of a symptom of not necessarily wanting them in there to begin with, just because, you know, they could have tossed in like a clicker encounter in the university or something,
Right.
or but those scenes would have probably ended up feeling kind of samey,
They would have. Yeah.
you know,
Agreed.
which, you know, I get. And then also you're you know, looking for just what's the most important stuff because we have a limited episode count, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Which is why I'm saying I really feel
Yeah.
like stuff like that wouldn't have felt, it would have felt samey, but wouldn't have felt tacked on or forced in
Right.
if they let that series be like 11 episodes instead of
I
9.
will say, to your point, I do think that the whole winter uh portion of the show, the whole stuff with David and the lodge, I really think that should have been 2 episodes.
It could have easily, yeah.
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 I
That's what I'm
think
saying. But in that, for me, where they crunch that into one episode, it's like, okay,
Yeah.
if that's what you're gonna do, I think they
Right.
handled it right.
Oh yeah,
For
I mean,
putting it
it
into an
wasn't
episode, but it easily could have been 2. Yes.
it wasn't a bad
absolutely.
episode, but I do think that it would have been more effective, just overall, of just kind of showing us how that particular adventure changed the 2 characters. If you did
Right.
have that kind of slower build,
Yeah.
where you don't have the David heel turn so quickly, where there is that kind of level of trust before
Agreed.
it's broken. And then you
And
also
that's
could
just
have
it.
had,
I think you could have had 2 extra episodes. That would have been one where you expand, and then
yes,
the final episode would be one where you expand.
yeah. Well, and then you also could have had, if you wanted to, you know, if you had the whole David arc be 2 episodes, you could have moved the giraffe scene to the end of that second episode as kind of your cool down.
Yeah.
And then you get into like the whole final episode could be the
Yeah.
hospital.
That's a good point.
The other thing, you know, the 2 episode David bit is one thing I would have changed. The other thing that disappointed me, and again, I'm not saying this was bad, because I really enjoyed the show the way it was. My one big disappointment in the show was from the Left Behind episode, because I love
the arcade?
Oh boy, the arcade.
Really interesting.
I was very, very heartbroken that they just played a game. I really, really, really preferred the way that's handled in the video game, where the arcade machines are all broken, which makes more sense, honestly, than just we found a mall
pristine arcade
with where everything in this mall is destroyed. Every window has been shattered and all this stuff. But yeah, there is a completely full arcade where everything is in perfect working order. But I do think them actually being able to just stand there and just play a round of Mortal Kombat is not nearly as romantic as what we saw in the game, where Riley makes Ellie close her eyes and describes it to her, and then, you know, you start to kind of, you know, hear her, you know, the way her imagination is making the game play out. I think that even as a television episode, that scene would have felt more intimate between those two, which is the point of that scene. Not just, look, Riley somehow found an old moldy binder full of game fact printouts that have all the fatalities.
I like to think that was Expert Gamer.
Oh, you think so? She found just a moldy old Expert Gamer?
An Expert Gamer from bedroom? before that magazine existed. No, I think that I totally get that, and there was a part of me that was disappointed with that too. But
no,
I'd love to have, and I'll bet you the podcast covers this. I've been
Yeah.
meaning to go back and listen to the podcast actually. I'd love to hear more detail on that, and I would hope that it would be covered in the podcast. That I mean, I know that the story was kind of like how they used, how they built a period accurate arcade,
Right.
which was cool, which is
Mhm.
very cool. I wonder what the original creative vision was for that scene. I think the way that scene worked out in the game was beautiful. You're right.
Right.
But I'm curious if it was almost a happy coincidence that it came out the way it did, more than that was what the vision of it was. Because if the vision was closer to what was in the show, and I mean, Neil Druckmann was, I mean, he was sort of the head. He was the one who was running the writing on the show, as far as I know.
Right.
If that was actually his vision the vision all along, I don't want to say his vision because he wasn't the only one who wrote that game.
Right.
The vision all along, and they just couldn't do it because it was a licensing thing. So then they ended up doing what they did, which again was super effective. Then I'm curious if the show is actually closer to what they wanted it to be, as opposed to like the scene we kind of fell in love with. But
Yeah, I
either
don't
way,
know.
it was an
Yeah.
interesting choice. And I think the other thing that it worked on the TV show was it created instant familiarity with what we were
Right.
looking at, as opposed to a bunch of machines that never existed.
Well, you know what?
Or
And I mean, keep in mind, I have no problem with it being Mortal Kombat, because I know there were people, like, after that episode aired, I saw there were a lot of people kind of throwing a fit online about, oh, it's just an ad, it's just product placement for Mortal Kombat or whatever. I don't care about that.
yeah, it
I
doesn't
don't care
bother me
about
either.
that. I mean, you're in a mall that's filled with, a bunch of actual bombed out stores. I think it works better to have them to have like an arcade that's populated with actual games than just Ultra Fighters.
Right.
But
just to finish my thought on that before you
Yeah.
keep going, what I
Yeah.
was getting at there was that you see those machines in the proper game as well, right? Like there's a whole scene, I think, where Ellie and Joel come across one of those machines,
Right.
and she references, I don't know if she references that moment, but she knows what the game is,
Right.
right? They come across one of the cabinets. The game's not working, but they come across one of the
Right.
cabinets in the game. So there's like sort of a callback there that they couldn't really do. Well, they could have, I guess, but they didn't do in the TV show. So
Right.
I thought it was an interesting choice. It didn't bother me that much, although I do agree. The using their imagination was, I think, more impactful.
Oh yeah.
Than them. But I did like, they did explain away the whole thing about the arcade being untouched, which is that it wasn't looting for the sake of looting, it was looting to survive.
Oh yes.
And who's going to carry an arcade? I mean, besides one of us, who's going to try to carry an arcade machine?
But no jackass is just going to throw a brick through an arcade machine just to
Phil,
break it.
come on, I'm
Come on.
trying to be realistic here.
Come on.
That's not how.
Yeah,
people are.
it's like I said, that having Ellie standing at the machine by herself, having Riley behind her, having her close her eyes, that trust you're putting in your friend slash soon to be lover, by you closing your eyes, having her kind of like standing right behind you, giving you the commands, right in your ear. It's very romantic. It's very sweet.
Yep. No, I agree.
And you just as easily could have had Ellie staring at the blank screen, and as Riley's talking, you would start hearing like, Mortal Kombat sounds,
Yeah.
Get over here. You could just that could be fading in. And you know what? Even then maybe just have like, just sprites, have the Mortal Kombat screen kind of overlaid.
I don't think that would work. You know what? Now that we're
You don't
talking
think so?
about it, I don't think that would work because she was born after all that happened. She's never seen that before.
Oh, that's true.
Her memory should not be accurate. She doesn't have any memory of it.
But you
Her
know what though?
imagination should be accurate.
I mean, she clearly somehow has experience with the game. Riley knew all the fatality commands.
She'd been practicing. She found the place first.
Yeah,
I'm only giving you a hard time. Listen,
I know.
I think that's going to
It
do
just
it.
wasn't as sweet as it could have been.
I do agree with you.
And that's why I love Left Behind so much, because it is so beautiful and sweet.
Yeah.
But
Looking
whatever,
forward to see what they
garbage
do
show.
with season 2. I'm looking forward to
Garbage
see
show.
what they
They
do with
left
season 2.
They left out Skelesier, so it's trash.
See, and I knew that was the real thing you didn't like.
That's, I mean,
yeah,
throw it away. No Skelesier, no sale.
And that's going to do it for tonight. Thank you so much for listening.
We did it.
I don't know what CJ says here. Please go to playeronepodcast.com where you'll find blog entries about stuff that
go.
I write and do.
There you go.
Maybe someday if I ever get around to completing any more of them.
Yeah.
And if you would like to talk to some of our wonderful community members,
Oh,
you can head over to our Discord server. We do all kinds of fun stuff over there. I don't
Yeah.
remember what CJ says otherwise, but that's all I'm going to say. Go to our Discord server.
Yeah, we have our Discord.
Yeah.
We have our Discord. You know what? I'm gonna talk about this. You know, you do your Sega CD things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my famous SpongeBob SquarePants Dilly Dabbler video on YouTube. 5.4 million views.
Yep.
That video.
Did it
Someone
get
left a comment on that the other day.
Really?
Yeah. Every now and again, I will get a notification of someone leaving a comment on that video. But someone left a comment. Oh, you know what? I'm looking at it now. Literally yesterday. And this comment says, and it was so sweet. This makes me want to cry. I don't remember much from my childhood, but I remember this game so clearly. Some little kid played this game when they were young, and now they stumbled across my video, and it brought back a treasured childhood memory.
I had a similar comment since we're talking about this now. This is still the outro.
Yeah.
I had a similar comment on one of my Expert Gamer Let's Read videos, which I have done, and I'm thinking like nobody's going to find these interesting.
Right.
But it was something very similar where somebody vividly remembered that issue.
Oh, wow.
And they left the comment before they watched the whole thing. Because they're long videos.
Right.
But they said like in the comment, they were like, especially the Grandia walkthrough. Because I used that to play through the game. And then there's an addendum to the comments like, oh my God, I just realized you're the person who wrote that walkthrough. Thank you so much. And I was like, oh man, like I don't even care that there aren't that many views on it at this point. Like just the fact that happened is I'm so happy that I made you so happy.
I know, right?
You know, so
I have no idea if the person who left that comment, because that the video, it's a bare bones, just like playing through the game. You know, there's no narration or anything over it. If you read the video description, I mentioned that I was the producer on the Dilly Dabbler, but you know, who reads YouTube descriptions? I don't know.
No,
I seldom, if ever, do. So maybe the person who left that comment doesn't realize that I, helped make that game. But I'm just glad that I cheered up someone's their day. So anyway, if you'd like to subscribe to the Player One Podcast, you can do so by visiting playeronepodcast.com or by loading up your favorite podcast listening app. We're also on Stitcher Radio or on Spotify. You can like us on Facebook. You can watch video archives of our show on the youtubes.com/P1 podcast. Or you can watch us live most weeks at on the YouTubes, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch.televisions, all over the place. Just follow our Twitter account or our Mastodon account, which is at P1 Podcast.
Yep.
At social Mastodon. I don't know the Mastodon format.
A link in the show notes.
Yeah, you'll find us. I mean, come on. To find out when we are doing our next live show, typically it is Sunday nights at 5:30 specific time, unless CJ doesn't set it up properly for us when he leaves.
And it's 30 minutes late.
And that's at 6. specific time. But typically, that's why I throw typically in there, because that's our back door, man. That's our exit.
I'm
that's
all about the back door. Especially when Cycle transforms.
Oh man, yeah, he's all hunched over. Rev it up. Join us, won't you, for that? Hey, if you like what you've heard, and how could you, head over to patreon.com/P1podcast. Throw a few shekels our way. Maybe if we get enough money, we can just tell CJ to take a hike.
Nuh-uh.
We're running this show.
I don't want any more responsibility.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what we do. We tell CJ to take a hike, but we use some of that Patreon money to pay him to edit the show for us.
No, why do that when he does it for free? We need to rethink. We need a production meeting.
Yeah, we should figure this out. We can do this though. We'll figure this out.
Yeah.
You know what though? Your Patreon funds do go to help support us, keep the show streaming every week and all that good stuff. And I'll tell you what, if you are a Patreon supporter of the $5 tier,
cheap,
you gain access to a special top secret bonus episode. We record right after this. We're doing one today, right? I hope
so. Yeah,
we're gonna try.
We're
gonna try.
Yeah.
Where we play games, crack wise, having fun doing all the stuff we can't do on the regular show. CJ,
he's not here.
Crap. Do we have a show? Do we have a game?
We do. We have a Jeopardy.
Yeah. Oh, we have a Jeopardy game.
We have a Jeopardy.
Oh, without CJ.
Yeah.
Will we survive with just two brains?
You know what?
What?
If we actually get the stream up and running and I can share it, the screen, I'm going to call that a win. I don't even care what our score is at the end.
Perfect. So join us for this mess. We'll see how this goes. And I'll tell you what, if you have a couple bucks left over, head over to patreon.com/Greg Seward to help support Greg's outstanding, and it is outstanding, web series about North America's favorite runner-up of the Sega Genesis.
Thank you, Philip. And if you are a patron supporter of the $5 variety,
oh, so cheap,
you get access to the Weekly Commute, which is a vlog series that I do about all the different projects I'm working on, talking to you about the latest episode of Generation 16, where I'm covering a game called I Will, the story of London for the Pioneer Laser Active, one of those rare Laser Active games.
That's why I never heard of this game.
Yeah, and you're probably lucky you haven't. And also another Let's Read video that I'm working on right now that I'm about halfway through the edit of. Nice. Many other things. And I've been actually going through some of the first reviews I ever wrote that got me my job at Expert Gamer back on gamingage.com. Been going through my N64 reviews. This week's review will be Dark Rift.
Oh.
So join me for that.
Dark Rift.
Yeah.
N64.
I think it was a fighting game.
Dark Rift. What is this game? Oh, that's a terrible looking 3D fighting game.
Oh yeah. Most of them are on the N64.
Yeah, boy. I forgot all about Dark Rift.
Mm-hmm.
Published by Tokai.
You know, Tokai.
Yeah.
Famously great fighting game publishers.
Developed by Kronos Digital Entertainment.
With a K.
Yeah. That's the Fear Effect people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there you go.
Anyway.
Okay, so
please consider supporting the show. And that also gives you, by the way, early access to all the major videos on my channel. So
wonderful.
That. Really appreciate any support they can get, though. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. I guess that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm just going to thank you, Gregory.
Yo.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip.
Thank you. You're very welcome. Of course. No thanks to CJ. Nope. For leaving us high and dry.
High and dry.
Although he did actually pop on and get us up.
I mean, he's the reason we were late. He's also the reason we ultimately did stream.
That is true. So I guess we'll call that a draw.
Yeah.
No. And of course, a big old thank you to you. Yes, you are wonderful, wonderful listeners. Every single darn one of you. Remember, as always, take care of yourself, your loved one, your family, your friends. Do what you got to do to be safe. My kid's right here. Speaking of people I love, my kid's standing right here watching me do this outro. Do what you got to do to be safe. And we hope to see you next week. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
There he is. Come on closer and say goodbye. Oh, don't cough.
Oh.
Say goodbye. Here, lean in. Don't. There it is. Okay, don't yell because you'll ruin my levels. But thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.